Okay, you guys, the last part of our chapter review, and this is a pretty significant component of your chapter 3 test, these writing equations for parallel and perpendicular lines. And make sure that you're showing your work and whatnot. This is a good, I'm going to say this equates to probably about 20% of your test is these types of problems. So 17 through 20, we've got to write parallel lines. 17 through 20 is parallel. Parallel lines have the same slope. In 17, they give us a point A is 3, -4, and we have to write an equation for the line that passes through that and is parallel to the line that is defined as y equals -x plus 8. So what that tells us then is that it's got to have a slope of -1. So we use our equation to figure out what the slope's got to be. Once we've got Dayla, would you hit one of the lights, please? Once we've got our slope, we've got an xy pair to use. We know we can write our equation y equals -x plus some b. We'll come back to that. We're going to plug in the x and y we have. -4 equals -3 for x plus b. -4 equals -3 plus b. When I add 3 to both sides, for this one, I get the b is -1. So when I go back, I can just go up here and replace and say this is the equation of the line, -x minus 1 is the line that's parallel to this one and goes through the point 3, -4. So same slope, and then figure out what the b is. Number 18. In 18, the point they give us is -6 and 5. We have to write an equation through that point that's parallel to the given line, y equals 1/2 of x minus 7. So the slope of this line is going to have to be 1/2. When I go to set up my equation, y equals 1/2 x plus b, I don't know what the b is, so I'm going to use my x and y. 5 equals 1/2 of -6 plus the missing b value. 5 equals -3 plus b. When I add 3 to both sides, b is equal to 8. And go back up here and just put plus 8. There's the equation of the line parallel to this one that goes through this point. Same slopes, different y-intercepts. Number 19, we're given the point 2, 0. We have to write an equation through that point, parallel to the line y equals 3x minus 5. That tells me then that this slope has to be 3. Y equals 3x plus the missing b. Plug in my x and y. 0 equals 3 times 2 plus b. 0 equals 6 plus b. B must be -6. I can go back up here and just change that out. So just using my y equals mx plus b, solving for b, getting the slope from the previous problem. I'm going to hang out here just for another minute or so, 30 seconds. The best examples of these in your notes are on the very back page of your notes packet, problems 5 and 6 from the graphs. This video will be public later. You guys can take a look. Number 20, I'm given the point 3, -1. I have to write an equation that goes through that point parallel to y equals 1/3 of x plus 10. So that tells me the slope of this line has to be 1/3 in order to be parallel. Y equals 1/3 of x plus what missing y-intercept might be. I'm going to plug in my -1 for y, take 1/3 of 3 plus b. 1/3 of 3 is 1. When I subtract 1 from both sides, I find out that the b value is -2. Go back up here. The equation of the lines through point 3, -1, parallel to the given equation is 1/3 x, and y equals 1/3 x minus 2. And then for 21 to 24, we move to perpendicular lines. There is some fill in the blanks on your test, like how are the slopes of parallel lines related? They're the same. How are the slopes of perpendicular lines related? They're opposite reciprocals. What's the product of the slopes of two perpendicular lines, you guys? -1. That's a fill in the blank on your test too. So this 21 through 24 is going perpendicular. In 21, we're given the point 6, -1. And we have to write an equation for that is perpendicular to the line y equals -2x plus 8. So then that tells me my slope is going to have to be the opposite reciprocal of -2, which is positive 1/2. So my equation is going to be y equals 1/2 x plus some missing b. We're going to use our x and y to find our b. 1/2 of 6 plus b. -1 equals 3 plus 6. When I take 3 away from both sides, I get b is -4. I'm going to go back up here and just put in my -4. If you don't want to go back and erase, I'm just going to... So the equation of the line perpendicular to y equals -2x plus 8 that goes through 6, -1 is y equals 1/2 of x minus 4. 22, perpendicular again. The point we're given is 0, 3. I've got to write an equation for a line through that point that's perpendicular to y equals -1/2 x minus 6. So the slope of this one's going to be -1/2. The opposite reciprocal is positive 2. Y equals 2x plus the missing b. 3 equals 2 times 0 plus b. That makes our b just 3. Oops, that's the first equation. Come back up here, y equals 2x plus 3. Perpendicular to this line and going through this point. This is 3, it kind of looks like 8, it's dark. 3. 23, morning. For problem number 23, we got point, we have to go through point A, write an equation through point A that is perpendicular to y equals 4x minus 7. The opposite reciprocal of 4 is -1/4, so that's going to be my slope of the new line. Y equals -1/4 x plus the missing b. I'm going to go look for my b value. Y is 2 equals -1/4 of 8 plus b. 2 equals -1/4 times 8 is -2 plus b. When I add 2 to both sides, I get that the b is 4. Come back up here. The equation of the line through the point 8 to perpendicular to the given line is y equals -1/4 x plus 4. Last but not least, write an equation of a line that goes through -1 and 5. It has to be perpendicular to the line y equals 1/7 x plus 4. The opposite reciprocal of 1/7 is -7. So my new line is going to have an equation y equals -x, 7x plus some b value. I'm going to work to go find the b. 5 equals -7 times -1 plus b. 5 equals 7 plus b. When I subtract 7 from both sides, I get for this one that the b is -2. Come back up here. The equation of a line through the point -1, 5, perpendicular to this is y equals -7x minus 2.